Who is the man, the myth, the legend, Aaron Kyro? Well, if any of you began skateboarding, I'd say anytime after 2010, when YouTube was the go-to place for tutorials, you've probably come across the iconic sponsored skateboarder from the Bay Area himself, Aaron Kyro. He's probably taught more people how to skateboard than anybody else in existence, and he's the owner of the biggest skateboarding channel on YouTube, boasting an impressive 5 million subscribers and 1.5 billion views. What's even more impressive though is that his channel is 15 years old. That's right, it was made all the way back in 2005, pretty much when YouTube started, meaning that Braille skateboarding has been around before a lot of the OG YouTube channels, including PewDiePie, Equals 3, and was literally made only a month after Smosh. That makes Braille skateboarding one of the few channels that are over 15 years old and still uploading consistently with a growing fan base. So in today's video, I'll be telling you the story of the life of Aaron Kyro, the creator of Braille skateboarding. Aaron Kyro was born on September 10th, 1983, and grew up in a small town in Montana. At the age of 6, Aaron Kyro saw a skateboard for the first time and said, "That's the coolest thing I've ever seen." A few more years went by, and around the age of 10, he got his first skateboard and started riding. He describes growing up in a small town with a small school as being forced to take a certain path. You wake up for school every day, practice basketball or baseball with the team, or if you're part of the band. And over time, he would become more and more attracted to skateboarding. According to Kyro, he would watch his favorite skate video literally 4 times a day.
And I got this skateboard video, and I would literally watch it 4 times a day, every day, and skateboard many hours every day.
His band teacher and basketball coach strongly disagreed with his career path that he was thinking of taking, because at the time being a pro skater was very unlikely, especially when you're living in a small town in Montana, thousands of miles away from any city with a significant skate culture. It seems like all that talk got to him because after graduating high school in 2002, he went to Vancouver, British Columbia for college, where he attended for 1 year of film school.
Why there?
So I went to college there.
Okay.
So I did 1 year of film school, where I did more skateboarding than film, and then I went to San Francisco from there.
Cool. And why did you choose San Francisco?
Well, San Francisco is the only place I had been to. I had never been to LA at that time. But San Francisco had this one spot that was a manual pad, and it's manual skating is like my kind of skating. So
What's manual skating?
It's wheels. And you balance on 2 wheels.
Okay.
And you have to have
the front 2 wheels?
Either way. Either way.
The back 2 wheels?
Yeah.
Okay.
Manual or nose manual.
At the time, San Francisco had a giant skateboarding community with magazines, plenty of skaters, and new skate parks being built. And although British Columbia had a decent skate scene at the time, he was forced to leave because his visa expired since dropping out of school, which left him with a decision on where to move. And since he was more interested in skateboarding than school, he followed his dreams and moved to San Francisco.
Plan A is become a skateboarder, and plan B was, if that doesn't work out, you're into film because you like skateboard videos, so you could do film, right? I thought to myself, if I don't go all in on this passion, I don't think I will ever forgive myself for that, you know? I don't think I'll ever let that go.
After moving to San Francisco, he gave skateboarding his all.
Where I skateboarded harder than I had ever skateboarded in my entire life. Like, to say that I gave everything is a drastic understatement. I literally gave it everything.
Of course, skateboarding didn't pay for anything at first, so he got a job at KB Toys, which he absolutely hated.
No matter what the person bought, you had to ask them, do you want batteries with that? And they would usually say, no, a bouncy ball doesn't require batteries. And you'd say, well, I'm sorry, I have to ask that, you know?
Eventually, a few sponsors reached out noticing Kyro, specifically Habitat boards, but they weren't quite all that he hoped for, and although you commonly hear Kyro boasting about being a sponsored skater from the Bay Area, he started to try to film some video parts, specifically 2 of them at the time, and they reached audiences all the way over at the East Coast. The videos were Mijos and Seasons. Keep in mind that this was a time before everybody had computers and the internet, so if your name spread across the country like that through DVDs, it was actually pretty impressive and a pretty big deal.
But still, like, the sponsor thing was going kind of just, it was just stuck.
Kind of just...
It was stuck for a very long time. Like, at the different levels of sponsorship, I made a video on my channel covering like the different levels of sponsorship.
Yeah, I watched that.
Yeah, so I was stuck at that lowest level.
Okay.
And some people just are gonna be stuck there forever.
Recognizing his career with his sponsor at the time may be a dead end, he combined the footage from both his video parts and uploaded his first video onto YouTube in 2005. For whatever reason, the YouTube algorithm gods seemed fit. This video was an absolute hit on early YouTube and was literally one of the most popular videos on the internet at the time, at least according to Kyro.
And at that time, I think it was the most viewed video on the internet, period.
The video did surprisingly well. Before this, Kyro's main recognition in skateboarding had been in some magazines in Canada. Unfortunately though, the views didn't translate to money for Kyro. In fact, at the time, and still kind of to this day, it was actually frowned upon in the skateboarding community to upload your videos to YouTube.
YouTube was such not a thing that like if you put your footage on YouTube, it was like, just throw it away.
Essentially, the reason behind that is that you were dumping hours and hours of hard work onto a platform that didn't pay you, whereas if you created a DVD, you could sell it for money. And also, it's a lot more impressive to have your own video part sold on DVD, even if you're sponsored or not, versus just uploading it to some random website on the internet. Shortly after the video went up, he started realizing that sponsors were withdrawing his name from a team. He said that he one time showed up to their shop getting ready to get a new free board, and they said, guess what? We're not giving you boards anymore. Kyro hit a low at this point.
It's a rough world. It's a rough world.
Because he packed up his whole life to move to San Fran and live out the dream of being a pro skater, and it was crumbling all before his eyes. YouTube as a website eventually started getting more popularity around 2007, and you could finally have a viable option to make a career out of it. So he saw others' success on it, and he started uploading everything that he had. He started out with short clips.
I'm gonna make videos on YouTube, and I started out just making literally anything. That's really what I did. I would just go, oh, I'm gonna have this old footage, throw it on YouTube.
In the same year, he changed his channel's name to Braille and turned it into a company aimed at being a distribution line for his friends to put out YouTube videos and start getting recognized for skateboarding. Aside from that, he really was just starting to get the feel of YouTube and experimented to see what kind of content people liked or disliked. After doing the series Clip of the Week, he began uploading tutorials. By the end of the year, he made a total of $7 off YouTube. So he went back and started to look at what he'd uploaded and how it had done views-wise. Turns out, people really liked his tutorials, and they liked them a lot more than his random skateboarding clips. So he knew which direction to take his channel in. He started uploading more tutorials, which really blew his channel up, and sure enough, it all ended up paying off in the end, as Braille is now the most popular skateboarding channel on YouTube. Although he is known for his phrase, "I'm a sponsored skateboarder from the Bay Area," he actually didn't become a pro skater until 2004. But wait, Skater Guy, you said he was sponsored. Well, yeah, he was sponsored, but there's a difference between being a pro and a sponsored skater. For example, I have a sponsor, cal7skateboards.com. If you guys need a new skateboard, new wheels, new whatever, check out the links in the description down below. But just because I have a sponsor does not mean that I'm a pro skater. One typically isn't considered a pro skater until they have their own skateboard made with their name on it. So Kyro finally became pro when one of his YouTube friends, Andrew Schrock, created Revive Skateboards, and one day hit him up asking if he'd like to be a part of his new skateboard company. And of course, he accepted. And the rest is pretty much history, at least up until 2019 when Revive officially closed and rebranded to Revive Wheels. With this change came a new website, and Aaron Kyro's board is not being sold anymore. Although interestingly enough, they rebranded the website and still sell Revive boards. One of the cool things about Aaron Kyro is how he believes in giving back to the community. A great example of him following through on this idea is when he got a skate park built in his own hometown in Montana. There weren't very many skaters in his own town that he grew up in, but there were still a few there that resided without a place to skate legally. In fact, back in the day, the cops would often kick him and his friends out of local parks that he was skating at. And surely enough, he built the skate park, and to this day it still stands. That wasn't the only place he'd given back though. In case you didn't know, Aaron Kyro is a Scientologist.
My name's Aaron Kyro. I'm a sponsored Scientologist from the San Francisco Bay Area.
Which is where most of the criticism for him stems from. First, let's get into what Scientology is so there's no confusion. Scientology, as defined by Wikipedia, is a set of beliefs and practices that are variously defined as a cult, business, or a new religious movement. There has been a lot of unpopular things, per se, that have been associated with Scientology. I'm not going to get into that, this isn't a video about Scientology, but if you are interested, there are plenty of resources out there that you can find. Anyways, a lot of criticisms have been directed at Aaron Kyro, not only for supporting Scientology, but also pushing his fans to support it too. Specifically, there's a clip out there where he claims that Scientology made him a good skateboarder.
Before Scientology and after I was learning tricks a lot easier. Things were just coming to me a lot easier with less effort.
This is frowned upon because most of his audience is made up of young minds who are very impressionable and might think that that's what they need to do to get good at skateboarding. In fact, he goes far enough to say that Scientology is the source of his self-confidence and his self-esteem. Aside from that, there was that one time when he donated $750,000 to a church of Scientology, and then went ahead and asked his fans to donate $200,000 to save the skate park that he made in Montana, when he could have just not donated nearly $1 million to Scientology and been able to save his skate park 3 times over instead of having to ask his followers to do it. It's honestly all a little bit confusing, and I'm not someone to hate somebody for their belief. I just hope he's not trying to influence the people around him to join a pretty much confirmed cult. Kyro has a life outside of skateboarding too. Right around the time that Braille was becoming, well, Braille skateboarding, he met fellow Scientologist Danielle during a Scientology course they were both taking. Her and Aaron Kyro got married in April of 2010, which is the same month they launched the Braille website. Braille Skateboarding started out as a small YouTuber uploading his skateboarding videos and eventually became the most popular skateboarding YouTube channel. The direction of the channel first started out as a platform for friends to upload content, but eventually shifted into what it is today, a company aimed at helping beginner skateboarders and growing the sport globally. While it's definitely impressive, and I'm totally not jealous, the real impressive part is how Braille transformed from a YouTube channel to becoming a full-blown merchandise e-commerce site, even offering virtual and in-person skateboarding classes. They sell pretty much anything that you can think of for skateboarding, from hats, shirts, all the way to skateboards and everything you need for it. Braille has pretty much capitalized every part of skateboarding that a company could. Aaron Kyro stepped down as the CEO of Braille Skateboarding in April 2020 and claims that so it can focus more on skateboarding. And it seems like they have some pretty big plans for the future too, even without their infamous leader. Aaron Kyro started out as a no-name kid raised in a small town in Montana who dreamt of skating as a career, to becoming the founder of one of the most recognized YouTube skateboarding brands we know today. With his net worth estimated at over $2 million, he's given back to the community in a number of ways, focusing primarily on beginner skaters. Who knows where skateboarding would be at without the countless tutorials he's put out on learning basic tricks. While he does have some interesting beliefs, so do most of us, and sometimes it's better just to look past it as long as it's not harming anybody and focus on all the good days done for skateboarding and its community.